love that every time.
The end. I love it.
It's like you just want to dance along.
Just start dancing.
Yeah. It's so fun music. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. Tonight, we are streaming live into the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. Not tonight. This afternoon. We're streaming live.
Yeah. Right? Saturday.
I know. We're usually at Thursday nights. So we're in the Isn't It Romantic Book Club. We're beaming into My Dangerously Dark Darlings. We're in Jennie's Page Turners. We're in Midnight in the Garden, and we're also streaming live into YouTube. So, hey, welcome all you viewers. Be sure to
we're all in the wrong spot. Okay.
Okay. Be sure to ask any questions if you have any just ask questions and Lori will answer them. Also, speaking of Lori, we're going to be discussing Lori Foster's Watching Over You today. So I guess I should introduce myself. I'm Abbie Roads. I write dark romantic thrillers. I tell people think an episode of Criminal Minds meets a love story with a little paranormal twist. And here's a stack of all my books. I about dropped it. Latest one is Capturing Fate, and it was sold yesterday. So who's next?
I guess that would be me.
That's you. Last.
Okay. Hi, I'm Diana Muñoz Stewart. I write romantic suspense for The Strong of Heart. My latest book was it was an anthology that released in December. And before that, I did a romantic suspense, which is more my brand, called Broken Promises, and that's out now.
Yay. Thanks. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Jennie Marts. And for those of you that follow me, you know that my house is under a home renovation. And I had to escape a couple days ago. So I'm coming to you live from a hotel where I am resting and recuperating and writing my little heart out. And I write small town stories with humor and heart. I write a lot of cowboys. I write some hockey players. There's actually a whole faction of hockey players in the hotel right now. So that's kind of a fun, they've got some big tournament going on, except for when you're in the buffet line behind them. And then those young men take every single bite of food as they go by. So my latest book that's out right now is called How to Cowboy. And Abbie's holding it up for me. Thank you. She's my Vanna. And my next book that's coming out is my Hallmark book called Cowboy Ever After.
I love the cover of that one. They did
beautiful.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So it's kind of fun that just came out this week. That's my new Hallmark Publishing book. And I'm just so excited to just be here and be with you guys and be with my gal pals and with Lori.
Yes, so excited.
Yeah.
My name is Sharon Wray. I'm the fourth member of the group. I write romantic suspense. Here's a couple of the books right now. So the next book in the series, Love's Last Kiss, is in production. I'm hoping it'll be out in the next 2 months. We shall see. And then Abbie, Diana, and Jennie don't even know this, but I wrote a romantic comedy that is I just got the cover this morning.
Oh my God.
I wrote Short.
It's Mr. October?
Mr. October.
I can't wait
to read closer. Put it closer.
To you guys. So anyway, Mr. October.
Yes. Hold it closer.
Hold it closer.
Hard to
I love it.
No, if I lick it, can I have it?
I know.
So anyway, you'll hear more about that. There's no pre-order yet, but I just got the cover of the anthology this morning.
Yay, that's so exciting. I can't believe you wrote Short.
And it's romantic comedy. So that
I can't wait.
I think it was COVID. Anyway, I am so happy to introduce one of our return authors. Lori Foster is a New York Times, USA Today, and Publishers Weekly bestselling author of more than 100 titles. She's known for her fun, very sexy contemporary romance novels revolving around alpha males who meet and fall in love with strong, independent women. Lori's been a recipient of the prestigious RT Book Review Career Achievement Award for series romantic fantasy for contemporary romance. Even more fun, Lori's been a clue in the New York Times crossword puzzle, a clue in the USA Today quick cross puzzle, and the sensual and sexy book Too Much Temptation was Amazon's 2002 top-selling title in romance. So we're going to bring Lori into the group. Hi, Lori.
Hi. Hi. We're so excited to have you back.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. You guys are a load of fun. Just listening to all that was a hoot. Jennie wanting to lick your cover just cracks me up.
You think we'd have this down by now, but it seems to be different every time for every video.
No, but that's good. Yeah, that it's not automatic. It's actually just friendly and casual, and people can relate.
You know, Lori, you hold the distinction of being the first author we've had here twice.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Add that to that long resume you guys just read.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
flattered.
great
I
being
appreciate
able
it.
to continue the series. I just love
great.
this book so much. I love Madison. I love Crosby, and
I
was
love
such
Hallie.
a fantastic read. Oh yeah, Hallie. Oh my
Just fell
God,
in love
so
with her.
adorable.
Thank you.
I feel
you
like
know
you
what-
have kids down.
Yes,
Like you
you do.
really have kids down. It would seem so genuine and authentic, every interaction with her.
Well, I tend to write kids that are of an age of kids I know. So, there's a little girl I know that is that age who's very precocious and smart. And so that helps,
Oh,
cool.
but
Yeah,
you
you did a great
just did
job.
such a good job with that. Like, just ripped your heart out. And then when you met her, your description was so good. You just wanted to like pick. Is it Hallie or Haley?
I don't know, however you want to pronounce it.
And the
Well,
audio-
I don't remember what was in my head. You know how it is. You write the book, and then I've finished 2 other books since then. So I don't remember. Probably Haley, but
in the audio, because I listened to the audio, it was Hallie.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
I can't listen to the audio. It embarrasses me. So my publisher, they'll send me choices to choose from, and I usually give them to my husband and say, which of these sounds good, because it embarrasses me to hear my books out loud. I don't know why.
funny.
It's like I'm always, it's embarrassing. Meant to be read, not heard. So
No, they're really good in audio. And the guy who narrates them, he's got such a nice, deep voice, but he
Yeah.
can transition to a woman's voice so seamlessly, I don't even realize it. Like,
awesome.
yeah, he does very good.
I'm relieved to hear it. Since I don't
You know, one thing that I was surprised about and absolutely fell in love with was Parrish and Silver's story.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, I love that.
ew.
Thank you. I didn't plan that. That just, how you're writing and then something just sort of happens. So that just sort of happened. I hadn't counted on a Silver being in the story, but I thought she worked. Once she was introduced, I loved her, so.
Oh, yeah. And you know what's so funny is so many times we I think as readers, we just put ourselves in that heroine spot. And then you hear Parrish is still young and fit at 53. And I'm like,
Woohoo!
wait, wait, the dad is my age. What is happening here?
I know.
Well, and then Silver has this streak of gray in her hair, and I think she was maybe 40. I'm like, oh
40,
my god,
yeah.
that's my age, and they're just calling her grandma, and I'm like, oh my God.
They're like, oh, Parrish still has some get up and go. He's still in good shape. It's like, oh god.
Well, in comparison to what his kids do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be awkward to
loved it.
maintain the pace. Yeah, I know. It's funny, though. It is. But at 63 now, I gimp around here and I think, oh my gosh, I'm falling apart. So I'm always extra impressed when someone after they've hit 50 still has all their pizzazz, because I don't know when my pizzazz fled, but it was probably in my 40s, so. And then at the level of what he had taught his kids to do, that would be a lot to maintain. When I know at 50, I'm tired. I was tired. I'm extra tired now, but I mean, at 50, I was tired. So,
Well,
I've heard so many 50-year-old people now tell me how young and vibrant they still are. And I believe every one of you. I just wasn't. So,
well, one of the things I loved about it was a complete story. Because there are so many subplots that we're just used to. It's the expectation is that it'll continue, but that one was actually just a lovely little complete story within the story. I love that.
awesome. Thank you.
I
Thank
love
you.
that too.
And for people who didn't read the series or just popping in, the family is kind of like a group of vigilantes that kind of go around and try to corral and stop human trafficking, and they're very successful at it. So that's what Lori was talking about when she said what the kids do. There's 2 sons and a daughter, and they just kind of go around kicking butt. They're amazing.
I want to live in the house.
Yeah,
I know.
I Lori, I want you to tell us about that house. Is that somewhere that you have like been somewhere like that? Have you been a couple places and you meshed that into one? Like, tell us your vision about this house and how this house came about.
For every house I write, I look up house plans because otherwise I forget. So if I'm having the character come in the front door, I can't remember if the dining room's to the left or to the right or what they're walking into. So I always look up house plans. They always get copied and pasted into my character sheet. So I can always glance and say, is it a 3-bedroom house or a 4-bedroom house? Or in Parrish's case, a 10-bedroom house. But I like to try to fit, I don't know if he really had 10, but it felt like it. So I like to always be able to have a visual I can refer back to. So I don't get lost when the characters are doing something simple. Like you don't want to say they came out of the restroom and went up the hall, after their shower, if they didn't have to do that, if they came out and they were already in a main area. So I try to keep track that way. So I'm sure that was just, I probably looked up mansions, and found one in the Rockies that would work and went with it. Well, you guys don't do that? You don't look up house plans to keep it straight in your head?
Oh, I do.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't look up the plans, but I look up like old farmhouses and I put that house on Pinterest. But I think that's a great idea to look up the plans.
Yeah.
And
I'm
as
supposed
a
to be
Colorado,
doing Pinterest.
I'm in Colorado, so I think you do a good job of doing Colorado. So when you talk about I-25, and it's kind of fun. I love reading the Colorado and the mountain books because that's my backyard. So that makes it even more fun.
All I know about Colorado, I've been there to a few conferences, and you never get out of the conference hotel. But Pamela Clare, another really wonderful author, very generously answered a few questions for me when I had, obvious questions because I don't live there. And you're not really sure if someone's going down a highway, what they might run into, and again, maps help. So, you look up maps and you see what might be isolated. And then I always fudge the names other than the main highways so that nobody calls me on it if I make a mistake.
Right.
Well, now you have another Colorado girl that if you have questions, you can call me and I'll
Thank you. For sure I will. I'm actually writing a 4th book right now that's in Colorado. Because I don't know if you guys read the second book, Stronger Than You Know. Jody was introduced. She was a victim turned sort of vigilante that was a very sad, small, thin, sort of, sad character. And now she's older and a little bit wiser. She's picked up weight. She's more badass than ever. And she's got her own story now. So it's kind of loosely tied, it's loosely tied with the Mackenzies, but branching off a little bit.
So will the Mackenzie family, will the house and that organization that they run be in that book?
So far I'm about halfway through it. They're mentioned and they text with her a lot. She just bought a little house and they sent her a bunch of stuff that she didn't want them to send her because she's trying to make it on her own. Her mantra is everyday woman for an everyday life, but she's not an everyday woman and she's never going to have an everyday life. So she's trying to adjust and she doesn't want them paving the way for her. She wants to make it on her own. And then, of course, there's a hunky neighbor who can't help but be protective because she's trouble wherever she goes. So the book will be called The Dangerous One. And when you're reading it, you're not sure if it's referring to her or to him because he's got his own past.
Oh, wow.
But she'll always have them for backup. She'll always have the Mackenzies for backup if she needs them.
That's cool.
And that's the book you're writing right now?
Correct. Yes. That's the one I'm working on right now. And I'm loving it. How sometimes some books just take it out of you and you really have to work harder at it. And then sometimes they basically write themselves and your hard part is walking away from it. This is one of those books where I just have to keep making myself walk away so I can do other things, eat and, get dressed for this and things like that. So
I read Stronger Than You Know before I read this one because it's I have to read the whole series.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I did the same thing.
Yeah, it was very good. Very good. If you guys haven't read it, I highly recommend Stronger Than You Know before you read this one. I mean, it was.
Yeah, they don't have to be read in order, but it adds so much to it, to the story.
Yeah. And Jody was such a neat character. She really was. And I'm so glad you're doing a book about her. I think I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, she's come full circle. She's going to be all right. But you're talking about reading books in order. I'm reading, go figure. I had never read Lisa Kleypas. I'm not sure how you say her last name. Phenomenal. Where have I been? So I read one completely out of order. And then read the second one, still out of order, and then went back and read, this was like the fourth and fifth. Then I read the second. Then I finally got the first, and now I'm caught up to where I need to be in the series. So you can read them out of order, but it sure makes more sense when you read them in order, you know?
Oh, definitely.
Awesome author, by the way, and just loving it.
So just to peek into our comments, Hannah Robertson says about the Mackenzies, they really are like the Batman family. Parrish is Bruce, Cade is Grayson, Reese is Damien, and Madison is Barbara.
Yeah, there you go. Nice. Well, there's a running joke through it because Bernard, who's sort of the butler and the boss, and you know, he runs the household. He comes off as, what was the butler's name? And
Alfred.
Alfred. Yes.
Alfred.
He sort of comes off as Alfred, and then when Parrish steps onto the scene, he always steps onto the scene with so much oomph. It's like Batman. So that was sort of a running joke through the thing, anyway. Batman and Alfred.
Do you think there'll be any more books in this series?
You know, that'll probably depend on how well they do. Well, they've done fairly well, but I'm saying if there's enough readers requesting them I'm kind of thinking I'm going to go with Jody, and then there's the hero in that book has a brother, so I'll probably go that way before I go back to visit the actual Mackenzies, but they'll be involved in those two books, I'm sure.
That's great.
So Lecha asks, Lori, do your book characters talk to you? And if they do, have you had to change something in the story because of it?
Yes, they talk to me all the time. Like when I should be sleeping at night, they're talking to me. The only time they're not talking to me is generally if we're at the theater. I love to go to the movies, and you know, even my husband says I watch the worst movies, but it doesn't matter to me if it's keeping me engaged, if there's enough action or you know, something going on. It keeps me from plotting. Otherwise, I'm always plotting, and my characters are always talking to me, and then I'm trying to take notes so I don't forget what they said. You know, so they talk to me quite a bit. And yes, I don't plan very far ahead in my books because I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do anyway, which makes it problematic when the publisher wants to know what a book will be about. And you're kind of like, you know, there'll be an alpha guy, there'll be a really strong woman, they'll have sex, it'll all work out, you know, there'll be some conflicts. Because I don't ever really know until I start writing it and see where it goes. But so I don't usually have to change a bunch, but that has happened a couple of times where I thought something was going to go a certain way and it didn't because they took me on a whole different path.
Wendy has a really good question. She says she just finished watching Over You last week. She loves the whole series, and she wonders if Bernard will get a book.
You know, so many people have asked me that, but I don't know. You know, my publisher, when I just did my last contracts, there were a couple novellas in there that they wanted. So if anybody doesn't know, when you do contracts, you get signed up for so many trade books, so many mass market books, so many novellas. And so they have a few novellas in there. I'm not really sure what they have planned for them. I don't know that I would make Bernard a whole big book, but I wouldn't mind him being a novella, you know, a shorter story.
That's
We
perfect.
already
That's
know so
perfect.
much about Bernard. You know, it would be tough to create an entire big book for him because we know this guy inside and out now, you know, so.
That's why we love him so much.
Yes.
It's fun.
We want it. We want it. We want it right now.
I especially liked when he gave Parrish hell.
Oh, I
and
love
watching
that.
Over You. Yeah. You know, it's like, get up, go right now. And he's like, can I finish my coffee? No, you may not. You got to get up and go right now. So,
But I love it. It seems, and I wasn't sure. I think it was like sometimes he takes plates away, or if you're not doing what he wants you to do, he just he takes your.
Yeah, we all need a Bernard in our life.
Removes your car.
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody that wants dessert better knock it off right now, or Bernard's not going to get them dessert. And they always want it because they've smelled it cooking. So,
Karen Hoffman has 2 questions that are related. What is your favorite time of day to write, and do you try to write a little bit each day?
excuse me. So yes, I try to write every day, even if it's just to make a few notes for myself. Like on Sunday, we usually have family day. So my kids and my grandkids and everybody comes over, and I'm usually jotting notes down in the morning because I don't want to get so involved in writing that they show up and I'm in my PJs still. You know, it's happened, but I try not to let it happen too often. And so I try to write a little bit every day. During the week, I write a lot. You know, I get up always between 4 and 4:30 every day. And I'm usually at my computer until 5:30 or 6. So some of that is Facebook, because you guys know Facebook just takes up so much time. And I'm organizing my event again, so that'll happen in June.
Oh, good.
That takes some time, and I work on that throughout the year anyway. But so a lot of that time in there is spent writing. And I forgot what the other question was. Do I write a little bit every day?
So what is your favorite time of day to write? And then do you try to write a little each day? So
yeah, so it's obviously morning when I'm up. And, I started that when my kids were all still living at home and they would be in bed and it would be a quiet time to get up and get going and get my coffee uninterrupted and write some. And now I'm just old and set in my ways. So I still just wake up super early for no reason whatsoever, just because that's my pattern now.
So I have a question for you in that vein. As a writer myself, what do you do, or how do you create that work-life balance?
You talk about when you have kids? You have kids at home?
No, but I mean, I have them. They're not. Oh yeah, I do have one at home. He just moved back. Yeah, I do. But I mean, like, I don't have.
Oh wait, I do have a kid.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have little kids. I don't have to like.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Come up and go to school, but I just mean like, what? Because you've been doing this for so long. How do you keep from letting just the writing take over your whole life and still make time for family and spending time with your husband? And I have one of those too. He is at home.
It's not easy sometimes. There are days when he'll come in and he'll say, you've been on the computer, because I have lung issues too. And he'll say, you've been on the computer all day long. Why don't you get off, take a breath? We'll go take a walk. More out of concern for me than because he wants attention. But he probably wants attention too. But we tend to spend every evening sitting around together, and he cooks dinner. I have dinner with him. Whatever he cooks is always good. It's really awesome because it's like having my own Bernard, except he's not allowed to be
That's
bossy.
awesome.
But he's not allowed to be too bossy. So like the other day, I had Tracy Solheim doing a takeover on my Facebook page. And she was talking about football and tailgate food. And someone mentioned nachos, with the meat sauce and everything on it. And I told him, I said, doesn't that sound good? Well, that's what we had that night. See, I can do those little hints. Doesn't that sound delicious? I could really eat that tonight. And then he comes in, that's what he has, dinner's ready, and that's what it is. So it works out really well. He's made it, I have to say, he's made it really, really easy for me to be a full-time writer because he tends to take care of everything. My mother-in-law recently passed away, his mother. And we were going through a bunch of old photos and things. And there was an old article write-up that the local paper did on me where I was cooking. And it was funny because I haven't cooked in years. I did back then because he hadn't yet retired. So I was still, the main cook for the kids and for him. And, we always liked to have dinner together. So once he retired, he sort of took over all that little by little to where all I have to do is write and show up, watch a movie in the evening, and try to be ready when everybody shows up on Sunday. So.
That's cool. I saw that. I saw that article.
And what you did mention, just for the people who are watching, you mentioned your readers event. So do you want to explain what that is for people who might not know?
Sure. So every year, we missed a year because of the whole COVID stuff. I have a reader author get together. Would you say we missed 2 years? We missed 2 years, my husband said. He's the numbers guy, not me. I can't do numbers. So we missed 2 years. I guess we missed. Well, okay, we missed 20 and 21, but in 21, I just had a one-day event sort of as a bridge to carry us over. But anyway, we have a slew of really phenomenal authors coming. If anyone's interested, they can look at the website, which is readerauthorgettogether.com. And it's very affordable, which is what I wanted when I started it, because so often the conferences are so expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
A lot of book lovers can't go because it costs too much. So we don't go to a big fancy hotel. We go to the Holiday Inn at the airport, it's a nice hotel. I don't mean that it's not, but I'm saying it's not something that's going to cost you $300 a night to stay there. And this is so hard for me to ever explain this event. We have a Wednesday welcome party. Then we have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday boardrooms where authors take over different boardrooms and do their own little setups. We have breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Friday and Saturday. We have parties Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. All of it is sponsored by different authors who attend. That way it keeps the cost down for readers. So they're not having to foot the bill on everything. The authors pick up, like Paige Tyler and Monette Michaels have consistently for many years now sponsored our goodie bags. They provide a nice canvas bag, and authors donate swag and stuff to go in it. Some donate books. Usually there's 6 to 8 free books in each bag. And they have promo on one side of the tote bag, so it's good for them. And I don't have to buy those, so I don't have to in turn charge readers to help cover the costs. So that's the way all of it is done. There's just enough cost to cover their meals, and it's just a really, really good time. We do a huge raffle full of just absolutely astonishing raffle baskets donated largely by authors, sometimes by readers. And we donate all the proceeds from that to cancer-free kids. And how much was the last amount, Alan? You have to just say it. I'm looking at you, Mir. What?
Oh, shit.
32? 32,000 maybe, something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Wow.
He was flashing me, and I couldn't tell what he was flashing me. So it's like 32,000 we do for that. So it's a really good event. You know, it's affordable. And let's see, some of our headlining authors this year will be Sylvia Day, Christine Feehan, Brenda Novak, Jill Shalvis, Rayanne Thane, Nancy Nagel. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. There's a bunch of, and we have Laura Lee. Thank you. I was forgetting her. I mean, there's so many really, really talented, stellar authors that will be there. And even if someone can't attend, the book signings will be open to the public. So,
Wow.
Oh, that is really cool. And hi to Alan.
Hi, Alan.
I always tell him, don't go anywhere, because if someone asks me a question for a date or a number, I'm not going to know it. So he's got to be sitting there to tell me. This I couldn't follow. I wasn't sure what all that was.
So you don't know, but we asked in the group what activities people did with their families, because the Mackenzies are such a tight-knit family. So now I'm asking you, what activities do you do with your family, and what's the most bold or craziest thing you guys have ever done?
Yeah, again, I'm old. I don't do bold and crazy. I was like an old person when I was 25. I was just always a very settled person who wanted to have a nice house and my kids to look nice when they went out in public and everyone be kind. And so, we don't do a whole lot of bold and crazy, but we had 2 lake houses until just recently. We sold one. And so we would always spend a lot of time at the lake and go boating and water skiing and visiting at the lake was a huge, we still have 1 lake house, so we'll still continue to do that. We just won't have the second one. And we like to go out hiking. By hiking, I mean walking nice, smooth trails that don't exhaust me too much. I don't mean up mountainsides or anything crazy like that. We love Hocking Hills and the Natural Bridge in Kentucky and Cumberland Falls.
Oh, yeah.
Places like that. Like I said, go to the movies a lot, often taking a lot of family with me or often taking the grandkids. I probably see more kids movies than I do adult movies because it's an easy way to go out with the grandkids, right? So you go out and let them eat, take them to the movies, give them some hugs, and you're done. And I haven't had to chase them everywhere. So it's, it's easy. On Sunday, when they're all here, their parents can chase them.
There you go.
That's funny.
Hey, Lori, how many books at this point? How many books have you written?
I got to look at the number keeper. Do you know? He said, no.
It's over 125.
He said it's over 125.
Wow.
So I don't know. It gets hard to keep count because they reissue things so often and repackage things. And they take a story that was in this book and then they put it in with that book and it comes out. So when I try to look through my website, it's hard to distinguish sometimes. Was that a new one or is that a reissued one? I know it's over 125, but I'm not sure how many after that. So,
Wow.
And how many different publishers have you written for?
So I started out with Harlequin writing category books. That was also in my mother-in-law's things, my earliest books that I had signed to her. So that was very
Aww.
sweet. I know. She was such a wonderful person. She lived to be 88, just was a strong, sweet, kind person right up to the last, so anyway, I forget what the question was. Oh, publishers. So I started out with Harlequin writing category romance, and then I was with Berkeley for a while, first with novellas, and then with single title. I remember sitting in the back seat of a car with Cindy Wong from Berkeley when she was visiting, and she said, I want you to write a single title. And I said, it took me so long to get published the first time. I don't want more rejections. I don't want to have to write single titles and get rejected and single titles and get rejected, because I know what I'm doing now with category and novellas. And she said, well, what if it only has to be 80,000 words? And I'm like, that's still 15,000 more than what I have to do for category. And she's like, just do it and I'll buy it. And she did. And it was wonderful. And I had such an amazing time at Berkeley. I just love Cindy Wong. She's one of my favorite editors ever. And then I was with Kensington for a very, very long time and also loved them. Kate Duffy she was like a friend as well as an editor. I would email, back then you didn't email, you would mail. I would slow mail a book to her, and I would get an email saying the eagle has landed. And by that night she would have read it. And I could tell that she actually read it because she'd be laughing about certain things, or telling me there's something wrong with you, or, things like that. So, we were close. And then I wrote just a few small things for St. Martin's, a couple of novellas, and then ended up back at Harlequin writing, for the HQN line. So.
Wow. Have you self-published?
No, I consider it quite often. My son, who's an author, self-publishes. Some authors that I absolutely love, like TJ Logan, such a phenomenal author. She writes romantic suspense. She's self-published, highly recommend her. So I kick around the idea sometimes, but it just seems like an awful lot of work, I mean, it's all work. It's all work. One thing I would love about it would be picking my own covers, but I'm not sure it'd be worth doing it for that. I don't want to give up my big advances too soon.
Maura, you mentioned it took a long time to get. Oh, sorry, Diana.
I was just going to say that Lecha asks, when does the title of a book come to you? Before you write the book, during, or after? And do you get to choose did you get to choose the title watching over you? Speaking of covers,
so I like to think I'm a talented author. I completely suck at choosing titles. I mean, it is like a terrible, terrible thing when I even make the attempt. So I don't title my books. My editor does. Whichever editor I'm with at the time comes up with a title. When I started writing Jodi's story, my editor wrote me and said, let's call it The Dangerous One. And then the brother can be The Fearless One. She said, will that work? I'm like, I will make that work because I like this title. So it did work, but yeah, I'm terrible. I'm terrible at titles. So I don't, I always start out writing when you're formatting the book. I always have up in the upper right hand, Lori Foster, New Mass Market, whatever year it is, and then the page number. And then when they come up with a title, then I change out that New Mass Market, whatever the year is, to the actual title.
Wow. I don't think a lot of readers know that, when you're getting published through a publisher, that they choose your title and they choose your cover, that we don't choose the title and cover.
Right. They always ask me, do you have a title you want to use? And I'm like, God, no, you choose that. I don't want to mess with that. And I do get like cover input and approval. But, I'm going to show you right here. So I thought this was a wonderful cover.
Whoa, I love that one.
I thought this was a wonderful cover. I thought this had nothing to do with those. I mean, it doesn't go with them at all. It has nothing.
Darker, isn't it?
Right?
Yeah.
So, so I had nothing to do with that. And then with this book, The Honeymoon Cottage, when I wrote it,
that's beautiful.
It was not titled The Honeymoon Cottage. I didn't have a title for it. And they said, can we title that The Honeymoon Cottage, which is mentioned in it? And I said, well, I'll have to go through and like play that up a little bit more so that it makes sense. And they said, yeah, because we're picturing, the cover with the Honeymoon Cottage. There's no Honeymoon Cottage in that. It's just the title works. The title works for it, but there's no Honeymoon Cottage on
Where's the cottage?
Yeah, right. She's sitting on the front. It's all behind her. So you could picture your own honeymoon cottage behind her. They do a good job. They give me nice covers. I'm happy with them. I just sometimes I'm not quite sure what I'm doing with it. So.
Well, Lori Mozo says she can't wait to read The Honeymoon Cottage. And Facebook user, because I don't see your name here, says, who is your favorite character that tries to get in other books?
Geez. Morgan from the Buckhorn Brothers, every time I write a Buckhorn book, he's in it somehow. He just noses his way in, and I can't keep him out of it. Characters that often speak to me, Joe Winston is always wanting to poke his nose in where it doesn't belong. But other than them, it's generally like when I was writing the Mackenzie series, Parrish tends to hang around a lot, even with Jody's story now. He's in it, texting and whatnot. But I don't know. I kind of get inside my own head and just let them do their own thing. And so once I'm done with the series, this sounds terrible to say, and readers get annoyed with me, but I kind of forget about the books. You know what I mean? It's like you move on to the next set of stuff, and someone will write me something about a book that they'll say it's only 2 years old, and I'm like, God, I don't know. I got to look it up because I don't have any idea. Because once I'm done, I'm sort of done. So,
well, with 125 plus books out there, it would be.
That's why I end up reusing names, because I forget I used a name, 80 books ago. So.
Right.
Well, and with traditional publishing, you turn it in and it doesn't come out for a year.
Yeah.
And so by the time, the book actually comes out, you've written 2 or 3, 4 books, since then.
Exactly, which is very, very different from indie publishing. So, and there's so much successful indie publishing going on that readers don't always understand the difference and how that is, so it does matter that it's been a while and you've already got your head completely moved into a new story and don't remember stuff from the other ones.
Lori, Diane has a question. Alive or dead, name 3 people who you would like to sit down and have dinner and a gab fest with.
Somebody always asks that. Joanna Lindsay, number 1. I think she was such an amazing, she's one of the reasons I decided I liked romance. I remember reading, what was it called? Gentle Rogue, the Mallory story. And I kept waiting for the James Mallory story. And she didn't write it for like forever. And I kept thinking, write James Mallory. It was after Anthony's story. And it made me such a huge romance reading fan. So she would definitely be in the mix. I don't know. Authors. Was it authors or just anyone?
Alive or dead, any 3 people.
Martin Luther King would probably be very interesting to sit down and chat with. And it was such a different world. And he had so much influence and, was idolized in so many ways. And then you read it, he was a regular person that had his own conflicts that he was working through, personal conflicts, not just, from a I don't want to say political stance. Yes, thank you. So let's see, who would someone else be? Betty White. Oh, let's say Betty White.
Betty White. Yeah.
She'd be a hoot.
Yeah, she'd be a hoot.
She would be fun. That would be an eclectic mix, wouldn't it? Somehow I think Betty would run the table. I don't know.
I think she would.
Yeah.
I think she would. There's another question about what was your favorite book when you were a little girl, when you were young? Do you remember having a favorite book or series when you were young?
I didn't really start reading. I hated books because everything the school would give you to read was freaking depressing. They would give you these sad things to read. I was one of those learners where I could read something, get an A on a test, and then I completely forgot it because I hadn't been interested in it that much anyway. I was just interested enough to pass a test. And that's how I felt about books. And was it called The Contender, maybe? My cousin was reading it and picked it up to read some and got hooked on it. But I wasn't much of a reader. It wasn't until I was fully grown, had 3 kids, and was sick one time. And my sister brought me over a bag of romance novels. And I picked one up. And I'm sure I've told this story a million times, but I did one of these and flipped open until I found a sex scene and started reading that. And then I was so intrigued, I had to go back and see how they'd gotten to that point because it was, I don't even remember who the author was, but it was extremely well written. And I ended up going through the whole bag of books and started buying authors left and right and, been hooked ever since.
Is that sort of what made you want to write, was finding the love of reading them?
Yeah, I think so, because as much as I would love another author's story, I would always wish that it had gone a different direction, or that this scene had been longer or that scene had been shorter. So I started out as kind of like a closet writer with just a notepad and a number 2 pencil, and, picking up a scene that I liked and writing it the way that I had wished it had gone. And I would always hide those underneath the couch cushion when the kids were home. And, my stepmother came over one time and busted me at it. And she's a lovely person. And she looked me, called me up one day and said, there's going to be a local writers conference at, I think it was at it's the Cincinnati Mills Mall now, but I don't remember what the name of it was then. It's changed names.
Fair.
What is it?
Forest Fair.
Forest Fair. My husband said it was called Forest Fair Mall. And she said, they're going to have a writers conference there and I want you to go. And she offered to pay my way and everything else to go.
Aww.
And I went, and I was astounded that I had written like 3, 4, 5 books since, just longhand on note paper. And I was meeting people who had been working on the same chapter for like 3 years. And I thought, well, maybe I do know how to do something, because I've written a lot in a year, so none of those were worth being published, but I think they helped teach me how to write. And, back then, Stone Ages, guys, I had no idea how to figure out where you even sent a book or what the format was that they wanted. Through that chapter, I learned about RWA, and, you found the connections there. So that helped a lot. But, before that, I just had not had a big interest in reading. Plus, I was raising 3 kids and, busy.
How long did it take you to sell, Lori, by the time you decided you wanted to sell?
I think it was like 5 years. I think I had written 10 complete books, and it took me 5 years before I finally sold. And once I sold, some of the other ones also sold. But, getting that first sale is just extremely hard. And I'm sure it's 1,000 times more so now, which is probably why a lot of people choose just to go indie. You have more control and you don't have to jump through quite as many hoops, and the quality's still there, so.
I'm
So
curious
someone
about
here
something you said earlier. You were talking about, oh, sorry, Diana, go ahead.
Someone here was asking, would you write a romance about someone, people our age?
Well, I don't know what her age is.
Well, I think she meant our age, as in most of us.
Your guys' age? You guys are all young. Yeah, I would absolutely write them your guys' age. My age, probably not, I don't really have a lot of interest in writing an old broad, but
Too tired.
yeah, Alan said I'm too tired. Too tired to write about an old woman who would also be too tired all the time. So, you have to be a spoiled person like me, whose guy brings her food and, encourages her out on walks. And we were laughing because it popped up in the memories. He came down, it was about this time last year, and he said, I made bologna sandwiches, and I've got some nice juicy tomatoes and some Mountain Dews, and I'm pulling out the RV, and I'm going to drive up to the lake and have a picnic. You can either go with me or not. He said, I don't know if you want to go. Well, of course I want to go. So that was him encouraging me to get off the computer and go out and get some air. So we went and had a little picnic on a cold, snowy day.
Aw,
So sweet. That has to go in a book.
that
Yeah,
does.
see, if you write that, no one's going to believe it because he's too damn nice. So people would be, or they'd hate me and say, why isn't she on the
So I had a question about something you said earlier. So you talked about the house plans, and you mentioned in your character sheet.
Mhm.
And so I am curious about that and what your character sheet is, and tell us a little bit about that in your writing process and what that means. And
Sure. So when I start writing, I sit down not really knowing what I'm going to do. And I sit down and I think, okay, he's going to be blonde. So I write down blonde on my character sheet. He's going to be 6 foot, 6'2", whatever it is. I write that down. What color eyes does he have? And I'm like, I don't know what to think about it. Get a visual. And then I have to find a name. And I usually, to find a name, I go through my Facebook feed, because I got, how many people do I have on Facebook now?
Shit ton.
He said a shit ton. I don't know. I have a lot, over 300,000. So I'll go scroll through all those comments and find a first name that looks good. And then I'll pair it with a different last name so that nobody thinks I'm, I wouldn't go write Jennie Marts, but I might write Jennie Wray, so just combine the name. And then as I think about what these people look like and what they're doing and then I think what would their profession be depending on where I'm at, I start writing and I see, well, okay, they're driving this, so then I have to write that down. So in the beginning of a book, I'm doing lots and lots and lots of notes. I have a double monitor, so I have the story I'm writing and my character sheet over here, so that as I decide, when the heroine has a friend, I have to jot down who her friend is and what her friend does, and I just kind of try to keep track, because when people don't realize too, when you're writing and 4 paragraphs in, or 4 pages in, is a very short time for them, but it's a longer time for us as we're figuring out where we are and what's happening. So it's easy to forget a phrase you just used or, something small. So I try to keep track as I go along. I also keep a page count. I know we go by word, but I'm still old and I still like a page count. So every day I write down if I've written 8 pages the day or 12 pages the day, or I'll come up and tell him I got a measly 4 pages the day was all. I try to keep track of that so I can encourage myself. You only did 4 yesterday, so you got to at least do 10 today. Rah, rah, me.
Someone asks, will you write another book of the men who walk the edge of honor? I love that series.
I did too.
Thank you. So I would love to, but that would almost require coming up with a new problem for one of them in order to introduce another character into it. What I tend to do is I introduce a character and lead it to a different series. So like the Men of Honor series led to the Love Undercover series, which led to the Ultimate series, which led to the Body Armor series, because characters get introduced and I bore very, very easily. I get really tired of characters and faces and towns and everything within my own writing. And so I just move it to a different location and sort of pick up in another spot. So I could see me doing that where something there branches off in another direction, but I don't really know. It just depends if it pops into my head and that's what happens. It's all just like I said, a quagmire up there just happening.
Do you plot, or are you more of a pantser, Lori?
No, I can't plot. I can't plot with it. I don't know how anybody does. This is when people have writing workshops. I have so much admiration and respect for them, because I have no idea how any of this happens. I don't know how. I had a friend who was a big plotter. She plotted out everything, and it really, really worked well for her. If I plotted out everything, I would feel like I'd already written the book and I'd be done.
I know. So I get bored. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I like to just surprise myself as I go along. I end up crying sometimes, like with Haley. I end up cracking up sometimes, as with Bernard. Jody is cracking me up big time now as I'm writing her story. In the Honeymoon Cottage, the town's name is Cemetery. And there's no cemetery in the town. So it's Cemetery, Indiana, and it's a small town. And the wedding planner hates that name because Betty Cemetery, who's a descendant of the person that founded the town, wants cemetery on everything. So like the local barbecue pit stop has to be Cemetery Pit Stop. And she wants it to be the Cemetery wedding planner. And she goes to every town meeting to fight this, saying we don't even have a cemetery here. If someone dies in cemetery, they have to go over to Dubuque to get buried because we don't have a cemetery. It should not have to be on every single name. But what really cracked me up in this story was they have a mannequin that they dress up and they move it around town. So, let's say Jenny dressed it up and took it to a football game and had it cheering. She leaves it there. Someone else snags it, and it ends up sitting out in front of the sweet treat shop, maybe in a skirt that's too short that offends someone. So this Kathleen, the mannequin, is always showing up in unlikely places. And every time I would put her somewhere, it would crack me up. I would just sit there and snicker thinking, oh, I'm going to put her here now. So I amuse myself as I'm writing, and so I like to just.
Get the Honeymoon Cottage right now. Can I start reading it as soon as we hang up?
Yeah, the Honeymoon Cottage. Yeah, I'll send it to you. You can read it. It's funny. Though when I was reading the reviews, so many people were saying how they laughed so much. And I'm thinking, oh, good, because I laughed writing it. But sometimes that's a Kate Duffy, my editor at Kensington, used to tell me I had a very twisted sense of humor, and I probably do. So.
What's coming up after the Honeymoon Cottage?
Let's see. There'll be a benefit book.
Okay.
So that'll be anyone that's unfamiliar. Every year I write a novella where all the advance and all the proceeds from the book go to my local no-kill animal shelter. I do one every year. It's digital only, except at my event, which we were talking about earlier, which is in June. My publisher always gives me some print copies to sell there. The money from the print copies also goes directly to the animal shelter. We announce it online, take a picture giving them the money so that nobody ever questions where it goes. And that will be Marcus's story from, what was he? He was from Getting Rowdy. So when I was going down the list of books that connect, that was part of the not Body Armor, the Love Undercover series. So it was Run the Risk, Bear It All, Getting Rowdy, and Dash of Peril. And in Getting Rowdy, there's a kid that he rescues, and the guy from Bear It All adopts the kid. Now the kid's all grown up, and he's a hunky guy, and he has his own story. So that'll be the next. And I think it's just called Marcus. So. And after that, I don't know.
And those are, did you say those were releasing this year or?
Yeah, so this year I had, what did I have? I had Watching Over You, The Honeymoon Cottage, Marcus will be out. I can't remember, there's something else later this year. There's a bunch of reissues, print reissues. I lose track of my schedule, but it's all there on my website. So if you go to my website, lauriefoster.com, and click Coming Soon, it's all on there.
Okay.
And
How far out do you have books scheduled right now?
Quite a ways out. So the publisher will generally send me. So this is I'll share a little thing that happened to me here. We signed a contract for, I think it was 3 trade, 2 mass market, and 2 novellas. And then they give me my husband said, yes, I got that right. Okay, good. So you have to tell them when you'll give them an idea of what the book is, which, like I said, is always a hard part for me because I don't know. And then when you can turn the manuscript in, and then they'll tell you when it'll be published. So they send all that to me, but they send it like trade books and then mass market and then the novellas. And I have to rearrange it so that it's in order of when the manuscript is due, because the rest of that doesn't really matter. I just have to know when my manuscripts are due. And they had the date wrong on the benefit book. So it said it was going to be due January of 2022, but it was due January 2021. But I went back and looked, and so I was in the middle of writing Jody's story. My lovely mother-in-law was passing away. Like I said, I had these stupid lung issues that sometimes take up too much time. And then it occurred to me, I got to have a benefit book out in June. When is that due? And I looked and I thought, that can't be due then because it's going to be out this June. And I got a hold of the editor and she said, yeah, that was a typo. So then I was like, oh my God. So I got to write a novella in 2 weeks. So I, set Jody aside, wrote the novella, got it done. I was just insane for a couple of weeks, but I got it done. And then I had to get back into Jody, which, if you guys know, if you walk away from a book, you got to go back and reread everything you wrote because you forgot your momentum and where you were and everything. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah, exactly.
yeah. So I'm scheduled quite a bit in advance, and it gets a little dicey sometimes for someone that isn't good with numbers.
Especially when you have then revisions in between that.
Yeah, I'm really, really, really fortunate that only a couple times have I had serious revisions, which, I talk to other authors and they say what I get isn't serious, but I don't really like to revise anything. I'm terrible. So, I just like to turn it in, fix typos, find repeated words if I use them, and otherwise don't mess with it.
Wow,
So,
you're amazing.
Yeah, it's
well,
amazing.
no, that's just me being bitchy and not wanting to have to do any changes.
Well, it worked out.
God, those words are gold. I don't want to change them, which I'm sure is so yeah, when you get revisions in the middle of something, even when they're very light and it requires you reading the book again, Oh, I forgot another story I have out because I didn't have time to reread it, so I had readers read it for me off my street team. But I'm going to be in this anthology with Fern Michaels. Is that not the coolest thing ever?
Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm so pumped up about it. I just think she is absolutely amazing. And through that, I got to meet Carolyn Brown, who's also just absolutely amazing. So it's going to be Fern Michaels, Carolyn Brown, and myself. And it's a Mother's Day type thing. And I'm so afraid the book is going to be terrible because I wanted to write a story for it. Way back when I did a visitation series, and it was Joe and Clint and Brian and I don't remember, a bunch of people. And then Jamie was the last one, and he was a remote viewer, so it had a little bit of paranormal in it. Jamie's daughter also had a little bit of paranormal in her. I wanted to write her story, and Kensington said, let's do it in this anthology with Fern Michaels. Well, I think it might be the only one that has a touch of paranormal in it. So I'm thinking, oh my God, these amazing Fern Michael readers are going to go, what the hell is this? So I'm extremely nervous about it, extremely nervous. It'll be Corey and Austin's story. In Bloom. And it's got a beautiful yellow tulip on the front, and it's Fern Michaels. And, it's going to be heartwarming. What is this? So I'm so nervous.
Sure it's heartwarming too. I'm sure
too. It is, but like Corey knows things. The female in it, she gets a lot of help from her mother. Austin gets a lot of help from his mother. So it ties in with the Mother's Day theme. But, are people going to read it and go, what is this doing in here? I don't know. I'm very nervous about it. I haven't been nervous about a book in a long time, but I'm nervous about that because it's Fern Michaels, so.
I'm sure they will love it. Just like we loved having you here today. I feel bad we didn't get to all the many questions that people had asked.
Will those be in the book club? Because I'll go in and answer a few.
Yeah, they'll be in the comments.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So we appeared in a couple different places, so I can send you links to all of that and make sure that we have them. But thank you so very much for stopping by today. So we enjoyed having you here, and hopefully you will come back next time you have, a book out that, you'd like to share with us.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm extremely honored to be the first one to be here twice. So that's very cool.
Yeah.
And you'll probably be
going to add it to the resume.
Yeah. And you'll be the first one to be here 3 times probably too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Feel free anytime. I love it.
Oh my God. You're fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lori.
It's so great having you.
Lori.
Bye.
Oh my gosh, that hour went so fast.
I know it did. It went really fast. Yeah.
We need
So
so
2 hour
sessions.
Yeah. So we're going to announce our next month's book. I think someone has a copy of it somewhere, right?
Oh, I do. But we need to do questions first.
Oh,
yeah,
the questions.
We need questions. Okay, so these questions, I'm going to tell you the question, and then we're going to put up polls in the Facebook group, and Diana does that because I'm not very good at that. And so you have to guess which of us matches the answer. And the question is, what was your favorite stuffed animal as a child? So one of us had a stuffed bunny, one of us had a stuffed puppy, one of us had a homemade Care Bear, and another one of us had a stuffed unicorn. So as you can see, animals are kind of a theme. So ready?
I
didn't have an animal, so I have one on my phone. A little cow, which I really want to buy now. It's so adorable.
It's so cute.
A little closer. I can't see it.
That's a good idea. I should have done that.
Oh, that's
I'm in a hotel. I have nothing. I have no stuffed animal.
This is my Brendel's armadillo.
It's kissing you, Jenny. It's kissing you. I don't know which way to go.
I know. I can't figure it out either.
But there it is.
Oh, there.
So, who wants to announce the book then?
Abbie is doing it.
I think Abbie.
Yay! How to Cowboy by Jennie Marts. We're so excited, Jenny. We cannot wait
to read it. I love all Jenny's books.
Oh, I know. And we picked the animals because Jenny always has such fabulous animals in her books who tend to jump off the page and take over for her characters.
And I think the book opens with Cade buying a stuffed animal for his daughter who is in the hospital because she and her mom were in a car accident and her mom did not make it. And so Cade has this estranged relationship with his daughter, and here he's this rough, tough cowboy and this 13-year-old daughter that he has this really tough relationship with comes into his life, and Nora is a physical therapist that they bring in to help Allie recover his daughter. And so it's a little bit different of a story. It's got a teenager in it, but
we can't wait to read
there
it.
will be some rescue horses, and
we're looking forward to it. So we're going to keep this up, keep commenting, and you could win a copy of How to Cowboy. Winner will be chosen on Sunday, and also the $20 gift card. So thanks, everybody. We'll see you next month.
Bye.
Bye.